Hello, everybody, and welcome to Just Ask Julia, where we share tips, trends, insights, and resources to help you transform your career and elevate your success. I am Julia Holian, and I'm here with my colleague Liz Helton. I will be leading today's session on everything that's going on with LinkedIn and what you need to know, particularly for those people who are job seekers, but not all of you are job seekers. So we're covering some other ground as well. There's a lot to cover today. If you are watching this live today, we will afterwards have a Q&A, so you can ask us anything about this topic or other things that are career oriented. And if you are watching the recording, please feel free to click the link below and you can sign up for future Just Ask Julia calls. Again, they're typically on the first Friday of every month. So we would love to have you in the future if you can come. But let's dive right in. I have so much that I want to talk to you about today about LinkedIn. So we're just going to get started. Let's just start with the big news, which is LinkedIn last year changed their system and became an AI powered platform. And so that has changed actually the whole way the algorithm functions and what you and I should be doing on LinkedIn. So if you notice that maybe a year ago you were getting traction on LinkedIn and then everything's changed, it's not you. It's true. Those things all happen. So what this means today is that your profile and content has to be very clear today and in a way that it was not in the past. So you have to be clear about who you are, what you do, who you do it for. So much more descriptive today in your LinkedIn profile. And we're going to walk through the different sections, a little bit of the profile, and give you some really good practical tips of what you should be doing. But the biggest thing about LinkedIn today that's so different for you as maybe a user looking at it is that it used to be a little bit of an overview of your resume, and you kind of stayed with the accomplishments and you got in the keywords. It is not a keyword based system anymore. It is now a natural language system. So let's kind of dive into what this means for all of you. So how LinkedIn operates today, when I say today, because it was not this way a year ago, how it operates today, LinkedIn now evaluates everything. It looks at your profile, everything that you've written in your profile, how you talk about your work and the value that you bring and the problems that you solve and the issues that you deal with. It looks at that in your profile. It looks at that in any comments that you might make or any posts. It pays attention to who you connect with and who you follow, because that is like an education to them. It says who you connect with and who you follow must be people that either you are interested in knowing more about or you share something in common. That sharing could be that you work at the same company, that you are in the same profession, you're in the same industry, you went to the same school, you work in the same networking. But it is smart enough now to figure out like the dots that need to be connected between you and other people. And that informs it as to who you might want to see more of or what you might want to see more of. It pays attention to what you search for and how long you spend when you are reading something, because the longer you read something or the longer you look at something, the more it feels like that's important to you. And that's not any different than what we've seen in pretty much every other website you ever click on. You know that when you go to, Amazon or any other site, that when you look at something, then all of a sudden these other things kind of pop up and say, hey, this is kind of similar to that. You may want to look at this. Basically, the same thing is happening in LinkedIn. One of the big things that got announced in the last 30 days is how LinkedIn is now really paying attention to how long people stay on your profile when they land on it. Now, that could be a recruiter in a job search landing on your profile. That could be a person that's just found you or just landed on it. So what that means is that you want to make your profile robust enough and interesting enough that you keep people on your profile. because LinkedIn says if people stay on your profile for a long time, you must have something interesting that other people want to see. And so it actually elevates you. That's kind of new information. So I wanted to share that. It also pays attention to what you comment on, what you engage with in LinkedIn. So if you're searching for something, if you are, if you're kind of going down a rabbit hole on something, it pays attention to that. Of course, it pays attention to anything that you post or repost. But the question really is, what does it do with this? So what it does is it decides based on everything it's looking at on a minute to minute basis. It is deciding where you appear in searches. Like, let me give you an example. If a recruiter is searching for people, a recruiter, and I'm a former executive recruiter, we would try to get a search list that maybe only has about 100 to 150 people in it, because more than that we really can't get through that more than 150 people in, say, an hour. So we're going to try to break that down. But if they have, say, 100 people in their search results, what decides if you're number one or if you're number 100? And a lot of that is based on LinkedIn's understanding of you. Now, there are other things, it's how active you are on LinkedIn. It might be, have you shown sort of interest in the company? There's hundreds of things I think that probably factor into it. But it's important for you to realize that LinkedIn used to be, here was your profile over here and come search for me. And now LinkedIn is trying to be more of a help to you by connecting all of these dots, but you have to feed it the information that you want it to know about you so that it does a better job for you. So it decides where you land in searches. It decides who sees your profile. It decides who it recommends to you when it says, hey, you might know these other people. It does the same on the other side for other people. It's saying, hey, you might want to know so-and-so. It decides which opportunities and jobs you get matched to, and it decides what goes into your newsfeed. So I do a training on LinkedIn for another organization, and I always share that when it comes to your newsfeed, like what's in the center of LinkedIn, if you aren't seeing what you want to see, you got to go tell LinkedIn what you want to see more of. And that might be updating your profile. It could be searching for things in the search bar. It could be looking for certain jobs or certain people, but you have the control over that. You just have to get in there and do it. But a core way that you could also think about what is LinkedIn's like mindset on this. So LinkedIn's mindset is, this person is about these things. It's trying to understand you. This person or their content appeals to, which helps it decide who it puts you in front of. And then this person wants to see more of. It helps it tell, it helps to tell it, what it wants, what you might want it to put in front of you. So keep all of that in mind. Now, I'm not going to go through everything on this slide. There's a lot. I purposely put a lot on these slides because I knew we were going to put it onto our YouTube channel. I knew that people would come back to it. And I thought that it would be helpful to kind of see things written out. But you can see that there are some clear things that they changed and updated in their algorithm. And the things that I want to point out to you are that LinkedIn made it very, very clear to those of us who are content creators on LinkedIn that they were tired of the AI posts, of the long posts that sounded just kind of a very straight formula, and we're just kind of telling people what to do. They have made it very clear that they want us to be genuine, that if we comment or if we post, that we are telling stories, that we are trying to help people, that we're looking at being collaborative, that we are trying to generate a real conversation on LinkedIn. They want us to be authentic. They want us to use our own natural voice. They don't want it to sound like, somebody else is talking for us. And they particularly mention that they do not want us to create engagement bait, which is kind of interesting. So if you look in the bottom left here, I said that likes are no longer metrics. It was for years, people measured what kind of activity they got on LinkedIn, a lot by the likes, um, and how many people, of course, commented, and the impressions and all of that. But LinkedIn said people were just trying to game the system to try to just promote themselves. LinkedIn actually doesn't want you to promote yourself for promoting yourself. They want you to actually help people. They want us all to be contributing in LinkedIn so that we are helping people out and being a resource and being more collaborative. So it's very, very clear in their language that that's an important change for where they are going. That doesn't mean that you sacrifice your domain expertise, your knowledge of your industry and the work that you do. They definitely want you to put that out there. As a matter of fact, I would say anytime that you are commenting or posting, make sure you're talking about the circles that you run in, your profession, your industry, the types of problems that you've faced, how you've resolved them. One of the things that I always think of before I post is I will think of, if I was going to sit down with one of my clients or my best friend or somebody that I know for just a cup of coffee, what would I want to say to them? Like, what information would I want to share? How could I help them? That's what LinkedIn is really looking for. Now, they're also looking for consistency, meaning they want you to be in LinkedIn a lot, pretty frequently. And at the end, I will give you kind of like your to-do list. But they want you to be in there, and they want you to engage regularly and show support for others. How do you show support? I would say commenting is your number one thing to do, but it could also be saving their posts or sharing their posts or reposting, somebody else's post. All of that is important, but they want you to do that consistently. And then finally, we have dwell time, which I mentioned for a moment on the other slide, which is it's paying attention to what you look at and how long you stay there, or the time that you're taking to comment and what you're searching on and what you're reading. And of course, it is paying attention to your own page. Like, how long do people look at your own page? So if you have one takeaway from this, it's to be in LinkedIn frequently. So actually two takeaways: be in LinkedIn frequently, and commenting is probably the biggest and best thing that you can do. So let's move on and talk about briefly, what do you do if you need to post or if you want to comment? Kind of interesting what they came out with. So they shared with those of us who kind of really follow the LinkedIn that they want you to post in a way that you are writing for an individual person, not like for the feed. Just like I said, I always sit down and I think, if I was to go have coffee with somebody, what would I want to share? They also mentioned leading with tension, not teaching. Like, talk about the problem, talk about the issue, not where you're being preachy, but say, hey, this is real. We all experience it, or you might be experiencing it. Try to talk about how you work through something and think through it, not just the advice that you would give. I thought this was very interesting. You know how we all, for the longest time, saw posts that said 10 ways to do this, and 5 things to do if you're doing this, and 3 things to this. LinkedIn came back and said, just stick to one thing at a time. Try to stop bundling a bunch of things. Make your one big point, and be specific enough to be really credible. So maybe you tell a story, and be consistent in your posting is very important as well. One of the things that they say, and you'll see this at the end on a slide that I have, is they don't want you to post every day. Once a week is fine. I can tell you that I had a number of people that I was connected to on LinkedIn who I saw posting every single day, 7 days a week, and it got kind of exhausting. And LinkedIn said, yeah, we're exhausted too, so don't do that. So sort of the flip side to this, to just kind of share, is that LinkedIn says if it reads like a broadcast, it's actually going to underperform. They're going to flag it. So if it looks like it is like, hey, I'm just trying to spew this for the masses, they will actually downgrade her post. They want you to be helpful, but that isn't necessarily where you need to start. You need to start by being relatable. Like, you got to bring people in by saying, hey, let's talk about, the elephant in the room. Share insights more than instructions so that you're really telling a good story. That one clear takeaway is better than five tips. Being vague is going to mean that your post is kind of it's just not going to resonate with people. It's going to die out pretty fast. And like I said, you don't need to post daily. Now, if you want to comment, and I would say commenting is really key. Anybody, whether you are a job seeker, whether you are a content creator, whether you are just trying to build your presence on LinkedIn, commenting is probably the smartest thing that you can do. So some of the guides for that are comment like a peer, not a fan. So let me tell you what that means. Don't use the easy buttons on LinkedIn that say congratulations or great post or anything like that. I would say you want to actually comment. I noticed that when somebody posts that they landed a job, there's an easy, I call it the easy button, but there are buttons underneath that post that will say congrats or congratulations. And some have the little, the party hat thing going with it. And a lot of people just click that. And I know it's nice and it makes people feel good, but I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't actually get you anywhere on LinkedIn because you haven't said anything. And you're missing such an opportunity when you comment to say something that is A, thoughtful and gracious towards the other person, and B, shares more about who you are and what you know. So let me just give you a quick example. If you see somebody who gets a job, don't say just congratulations. You want to say something like, congratulations, Joanna, on your new job as account manager at ABC Company. You're going to do such a great job in that role. I know this because I remember when you and I worked together at XYZ Company, you were always the person I went to when I had a question about fill in the blank. When we were working on the QRS project, I was so impressed by how you were able to tackle fill in the blank. I just know that in this new job, you are going to be such a help to everybody around you. And I can't wait to hear more about this role. Big congratulations to you on your new job. That is what, 5, 6, 7 sentences. That is what you want to do when you comment, not just when you see somebody who landed a job, but anytime you comment, you want to comment with substance. You want to acknowledge whatever it is that the original post was about. You want to add value. You want to extend the conversation. And if possible, even weave in your knowledge of something so that you're informing LinkedIn a little bit about you at the same time. You want to add perspective, not praise, meaning agreement is fine, but insights are more important. So you can say that's great, but if you can add to it so that you extend the conversation or the understanding, it's a better way to go about it. Also, think about it like what I just shared in my example is like writing that mini post. So your comment is not just 3 words. Your comment is like a mini post where you are contributing to keep the conversation going. That's what LinkedIn's looking for. So one thoughtful paragraph is so much better than the 5 emojis. You want to speak from experience, not authority. So don't be preachy. Don't tell everybody what to do, but say, hey, I went through that too. This was how we handled it. This is what I learned from it. This is what I would have done differently if I were to do it all over again. So, keep in mind, you don't have to teach in the comments, but you can give perspective on something. And that way it progresses the conversation. I would also say that when you comment, if you're commenting on maybe like a company's post, I would say ask a smart follow-up question so that you get them to respond to you. So questions can extend the life of a post. When I teach people on how to get on a company's radar, we talk about this a lot, where you're going to look at the posts that a company is putting out, and you want to find those posts where you can share your insights and ask good questions so that you get some kind of back and forth with that company so that you get on their radar, especially if this is a company that you might want to go work for. So essential things for job seekers. I know I just kind of flashed that really fast, but have so much that we want to cover today. There are 4 things that I have to tell you if you're a job seeker that I don't want you to skip over. One is your headline, and I'm going to show you an example of a headline in a moment. The headline has changed. The headline, for those of you who don't know, most people don't know, your headline, which is right below your name, for most people, they think, oh, this can just be the title of my last job, or this can be very simple. Did you know that your headline accounts for at least 40% of LinkedIn's understanding of who you are? It carries a tremendous amount of weight. And so now you want to actually build it out. And I'm going to show you an example, as I said, of how you are knowledgeable about something and the value that you bring. I would also say that you want to make sure you fill out the open to work section in LinkedIn. I'm not going to show that today, but you've all seen the open to button. If you are looking for a job or you are selling services, you want to fill that out so that you are getting on a company's radar or a person's radar. But if you're in a job search in particular, you want to fill out the open to work. I want you to, if you're a job seeker, I want you to create a target job as like a new position on your profile. And I'm going to show you that on a slide as well. And then here's a big thing that people don't know. And this not only applies to job seekers, I would say it applies to anybody, is that people look at the skills section and they put their skills in there. You can put up to 100 skills, but you should be duplicating that language throughout your profile, especially for a job seeker. When a recruiter is in LinkedIn Recruiter and they're looking for you, they are going to look for skills, but most of the time they will say, I'm looking for somebody who has, Java and Python, not just in the skills section, but they're going to also say in the written text of the profile. And why? Because it adds validity. When a person puts things in their skills section, that is a way that you can get searched on. But when people have done it or they're saying how they're going to use it, they typically write about it. And so most recruiters will search for language in both places. But let's look at the headline. So when you're updating your profile and you're looking at your headline, you have 220 characters that you can use. This is the old style that we talked about forever and a day, which was keyword focused. The new style is context and value, where you are talking about what you do, but then how you apply it and the difference that you make in a company. So this is the style that you want to take your profile to going forward. Let's talk about your about section. I'm not going to show you a big example on this, but I'm going to tell you what to do. In your about section, which I think of kind of like a cover letter inside your LinkedIn profile, you have 2,600 characters to tell people who you are professionally, the work that you do, who you do it for, why it matters, why you care about it, the problems that you solve, the challenges that you've had to go through at work, who you work with and lead. You can really build this out to tell people this is who I am. It is not a recitation of your resume or your work experience. This is like pulling everything together. It's like telling people about the journey of your career and what you do when you join a company, the impact that you make and why it matters to you. It's where we feel your heart. It's where, as a recruiter, I would read it and feel like, oh, now I kind of know this person, because I can look at work experience, I can look at skills, but this is your letter that says, here's who I am and what I'm about and why you should talk to me, because this is what I'm going to do for you and the impact that I'm going to make. So that's how you want to build out your about section. Let me state that you can change the language in your about section all day long. It is not going to alert anyone. So for those of you who are worried, oh gosh, I don't know what to say, and what if it isn't perfect, and I'm not really, I worry about it, and then what if I want to change it? First of all, let me tell you that making changes to your profile all the time is smart, because every time you do that, It is very similar to unplugging your device and plugging it back in. It kind of resets it. But what are you resetting? You're resetting LinkedIn on understanding you. So it's smart to keep making updates, because every time you do that, you educate and you reinform the platform. Now, your experience section is very similar, but I'm going to give you a formula for what you should be doing under every single job that you post. You should talk about the context of what was going on when you stepped into that role and what changed while you were there. You should talk about your position and what you were responsible for, including maybe who or what you led. You should talk about the problems, the challenges, the trade-offs, the decisions that you had to make, so that people who read it can kind of see you. It's like being a fly on the wall of seeing you in action in that job. And then you can wrap up by talking about some of the things that you're really proud of. Like, what did you or your team do? What did you learn from it? What has been the shift in that, on that team or that department? Now, I don't have this here on the slide, but let me just give you another little pointer. A lot of you have probably worked on a ton of projects, and those projects take up space. And you might not be able to get those projects all listed under every one of your jobs. But if you didn't know this, there's a whole project section in LinkedIn that you could utilize to actually truly showcase each project that you worked on. So if you developed a product, if you worked on a program, this could be for your work experience. It could even be for volunteering or school, but you can use the project section, and it's structured very much like a job, where you are putting in the name of the project, the dates that you worked on it. You have 2,000 characters to describe it, and you can even tag the people that you worked on with it, or did the project with you. So if you feel like you don't have the space under each of your jobs to say what you want to say, I would recommend that you go to the project section. Now, I mentioned early on that you should create a target job if you're in a job search. Now, what this means is that you are going to create kind of a fake job, if you will, but it's going to be your target job, because when you have taken your last role, like let's say this is if you've left your last role predominantly, and you put an end date on that job, that title is now a past title. And believe it or not, as much as recruiters would be happy to talk to people with past titles, when they do their search, they come up with tens of thousands of people, because past title is pretty extensive. So they often default to looking for somebody with a current title. But if you have quit your last job, were laid off, something changed, and you were in between jobs, in particular, you have a past title for that last role. And there are things about that last role that might not align with what you are looking for next. So what we have our clients doing is creating a target position. So you go into your experience section of LinkedIn, you click on add role, and you're going to, in here on the title line, you can say something like looking for, and then you have 100 characters to like list out the titles that you're looking for. On the company line, you can say looking for a job or open to opportunities. Just make sure that you always select one that has like that, the tan box that you see. So it's not actually tied to a specific company. On the start date, you're going to say the month that you started. On your end date, you're going to leave it open, because that's the critical thing, is that you have an open end date. So it looks like the titles up on that title line are current titles. And then in the position description, this is your golden opportunity. This is where you can talk about the work that you do, the work that you want to do, the type of company that you want to join. This is where you write your ideal job description. And you let that align with those other job descriptions out there. So I would say go find 4 or 5 job descriptions that are spot on for what you want to do, and take that and write, sort of pull it all together, use AI if you want to, and say, here's who I am and what I do, and I want to align this with, with these jobs, and write your ideal job description. That way, LinkedIn will send you more of the right things. That way, you're going to land better in those job searches for those recruiters. That's what you want to do. So from when it comes to searching on LinkedIn, this is a big game changer for anything that you may have done just a few months ago. So searching in LinkedIn has changed dramatically. It is now an AI driven search that you want to think of. So you are no longer thinking of like those job filters. You don't really have to have all of those. They're looking for what they call semantic natural language, means talking a human voice. Tell them what you're looking for. But the interesting thing that they point out in all of the LinkedIn's language is that they are focusing on intent, not just matching terms, because it's AI driven. It's understanding you. It has like this mind and a heartbeat that's trying to figure out what you're trying to say. So when you talk about searching on LinkedIn, you want to describe it. You want to talk about that role, the title, the function, the location, all of those things. And this is what it could look like. It could look like, show me remote mid to senior level software engineer roles at growth stage or enterprise companies in California, working with JavaScript, TypeScript, React, Node.js, and AWS or GCP. I want to build scalable web applications, collaborate closely with product and design, and focus on clean code and system design. I'm going to bet that most people aren't doing this, and they're frustrated that they're not coming up with some of the jobs that they want to find. But you can just go up to the search bar and type this in. You can do this on the jobs tab. You could just do this in the regular search bar. But note how this is much more descriptive of a search style than what you've done before. So what is your to-do list? Your to-do list that you should be just keeping in mind, top of mind of what you want to be doing all the time is you want to connect with people that are in your profession and industry. So make sure that you're building out your connections. Follow people, search for the things that you want to see, learn, and know so that you're also informing the system more of what you want to see more of. Make sure that you're building genuine connections by collaborating, communicating, commenting with those people. You can post once a week so that you are showing your value. What I have my clients do is we pick 4 subjects. Usually it's like, what are you reading? What have you been to and attended in the last week? It might be what are some of the trends that you're seeing in your industry. It might be even what is like, how is AI impacting your industry? We'll pick those 4 topics and we'll put them on rotation. So you talk about maybe what you're reading on week 1 and week 5, and you talk about trends in your industry on week 2 and week 6, and so on and so forth. You're not trying to study to do a post. You're talking about the real things that you're looking at day in, day out. I would also recommend that you join groups on LinkedIn so that you get found a little bit better, align that with your profession and industry, and tag people and companies whenever you are commenting. And then finally, for managing your time and activity, good news is that you don't have to post daily. The volume is no longer what LinkedIn is looking at. They're looking at value and validity. And that's not measured by likes. That's measured by comments and posts and people who save your posts or your comments. Bad news, just to let you know, is that LinkedIn promotes those who are highly active on the platform. So if you are not highly active on the platform, you're going to want to, and I'll talk in a moment about what that looks like. I do want to warn anybody who's traveling over the summer and is taking a nice long vacation is that 3 weeks off the platform and your visibility just plummets. So if you're on vacation and you've got that one day where you're going to actually get back on your device, try to get into LinkedIn for about 30 minutes or so that you don't look like you're completely absent. You got to post or comment and share regularly. And for job seekers, I just want to reiterate, make sure that your profile is robust and interesting so that it's holding the attention of anybody who looks at it. And then your activity itself should be 30 to 60 minutes, particularly for job seekers. And this is what you want to do. You want to manage your news feed. You want to make sure that you're seeing the right things in there. If you're not, you want to go up to the search bar and tell it what you want to look at. Or you could go up to the 3 dots on a post and say, stop showing me things like this. Tell the system what you want to see more of. Make sure you follow companies, make sure you comment and save and repost other people's posts. Try to get first degree connections at target companies because that will help you get your foot in the door. I wish we had more time to talk about just that because I like to spend time on that. Make sure that you're sharing posts with valued connections. And then on a weekly basis, this is where I would say you post once a week. You do a lot of your research once a week and search for positions once a week. I typically tell people to search on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. One, because don't ever reach out to a recruiter on a Monday. It's a chaos day. But a lot of recruiters like myself would post the new jobs on Sunday to kind of get ahead of the game. And most companies take down jobs within 72 hours. So you've got a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday kind of window for seeing those new jobs because most jobs are going to get posted on Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. All right. That is a lot of information. I hope that was helpful for you. For those of you who are on this live, we are going to open up a Q&A so you can ask us absolutely anything. It can be about this. It could be about something else in your career. So get ready to raise your hand. And if you are watching this on the recording, please feel free to click below so that you can sign up to watch future Just Ask Julia calls. So thank you, everybody, for coming here today. Feel free to connect with Liz and me on LinkedIn if you like. All right.